Welcome to Life Stories Network, where we share heartfelt stories that touch your soul and remind you of the power of family, love, and life's surprising moments. Today, I want to share something deeply personal, something that still brings tears to my eyes every time I think about it. It happened on an ordinary evening, but what my stepson did changed the way I see my family and my place in it forever. I had married his father a few years ago, and while we had built a comfortable home, the bond between me and my stepson was never easy. He was polite, respectful even, but distant, like he kept a wall between us. I always tried my best to be kind, to show him that I wasn't trying to replace his mother, but no matter what I did, he stayed guarded. Sometimes, I wondered if I was invisible to him, just someone passing through his world without leaving a mark. That day, I had been sitting alone in my room. I was tired from work, emotionally drained, and honestly, feeling a little unwanted. You know those moments when you question your role in someone's life? That's exactly where I was, questioning if all my efforts to love him were even noticed. His father had gone out for the evening, and the house was unusually quiet. I thought I was the only one awake, but then I heard soft footsteps in the hallway. I didn't expect him to stop by my room. Usually, he avoided me unless it was necessary. But the doorknob turned slowly, and before I could even ask what was wrong, my stepson walked in. His face looked serious, but his eyes carried something I had never seen before, something gentle, something vulnerable. For a second, I thought he might be upset or in trouble, but then, without saying a word, he walked straight toward me. I froze, unsure what he was about to do. And then it happened. He wrapped his arms around me. My stepson, the boy who had always kept his distance, hugged me tightly like he had been holding back years of emotions. It was so unexpected that tears welled up instantly in my eyes. I hugged him back, my heart racing with shock and gratitude. It wasn't just a quick embrace. It was a long, meaningful hug that told me everything words couldn't. As I held him, I felt a shift. It was like that wall he had built between us finally cracked. My hands trembled as I stroked his back, afraid that if I moved too quickly, I would break this fragile moment. He didn't say much at first, but when he finally spoke, his words cut deep into my heart. I just wanted to say, thank you for being here, for not giving up on me. I couldn't stop my tears from falling. For so long, I had wondered if he even saw me, if my kindness meant anything, and now here he was, acknowledging me in the most beautiful way possible. That simple hug carried more love than 1,000 words ever could. It was a reminder that even when we feel invisible, even when we think our efforts don't matter, someone is noticing, someone is feeling it deep inside. In that moment, I realized that family isn't just about blood, it's about the bonds we choose to build, the love we continue to give, even when it's not returned right away. My stepson had finally let me into his world, and it was worth every moment of waiting, every tear of doubt, every silent prayer I had whispered at night. That hug didn't just warm my heart, it healed a part of me that had been broken for years. It reminded me that love doesn't always show up when we expect it, but when it does, it's powerful enough to change everything. And that night, in the quiet of my room, my stepson gave me a gift I will treasure for the rest of my life. The gift of acceptance, the gift of family, the gift of love. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. My stepson's hug from the night before kept replaying in my mind, like a gentle song I didn't want to stop hearing. It was such a simple act, yet it felt like years of distance between us had suddenly disappeared in that one embrace. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, my hands still trembling as if I was holding onto something fragile and precious. I wondered what had brought him to me that night. Was it something I said weeks ago? Or maybe he had been keeping those feelings locked inside until he couldn't hold them anymore. Whatever it was, I knew in my heart that things had changed. At breakfast, I noticed him looking at me differently. Usually, he sat across the table, barely making eye contact, eating quietly like he just wanted to be done with the meal. But that morning, his glances were softer, warmer. He even smiled a little, and I can't describe how much that smile meant to me. It wasn't forced or awkward. It was real, genuine, like a small light breaking through clouds. I tried to act normal, not to overwhelm him, but inside, my heart was dancing. I wanted to hold on to that moment forever. Later that day, while I was folding laundry, he came into the room again. This time, he didn't look nervous or hesitant. He just sat on the bed and started talking. At first, it was about small things. His school project, a video game he liked, a funny thing one of his friends had said. But to me, it was huge. For the first time, he was choosing to share his world with me. I listened carefully, laughing when he laughed, encouraging him when he spoke about his dreams. Each word he shared felt like another piece of the wall falling away. And then, out of nowhere, he said something that broke me in the most beautiful way. "You know, I didn't think I'd ever like having a stepmom. But you're different. You actually care." My throat tightened, and I had to bite my lip to stop myself from crying too hard in front of him. Those words were everything I had been waiting to hear. It was like he finally saw me, not as someone who had married his dad, but as someone who loved him for who he was. That night, when I told my husband about what happened, even he was stunned. He said he had never seen his son open up like that before. We sat together, holding hands, quietly grateful for the change we were witnessing. It felt like our little family had grown stronger, like roots finally finding their place in the soil. My husband whispered, "You've done more for him than you realize. He needed you, even if he didn't know how to say it." Hearing that made my heart swell with pride and humility all at once. But the truth is, it wasn't about me being some kind of savior. It was about patience. It was about showing up, day after day, even when I wasn't sure if it mattered. It was about listening when he didn't speak, being gentle when he pulled away, and holding space for him until he was ready. And now, finally, he was ready. That hug was his way of saying he trusted me, and trust is the greatest gift anyone can give. The days that followed felt different. The air in our home was lighter. He laughed more, joined us for conversations at the dinner table, and even started teasing me in small, playful ways. It was the kind of teasing that said, "You belong here. You're part of this." And every time he did it, I felt my heart fill with gratitude. I realized then that love doesn't always come rushing in like a storm. Sometimes, it's slow and quiet, like the steady drip of water shaping stone. It takes time, patience, and faith. And when it finally shows itself, it's stronger and more lasting than anything you could have imagined. That evening, I tucked him into bed. He looked up at me with sleepy eyes and said, "Good night." Just that one word, but the way he said it, soft, trusting, almost tender, was enough to bring me to tears once again. I walked back to my room with a smile, knowing that our journey as a family had truly begun. As the days turned into weeks, the bond between me and my stepson grew stronger in ways I never thought possible. That single hug had unlocked something inside both of us, something that kept unfolding quietly, beautifully each day. It was as if we had discovered a hidden bridge that had always been there, but was finally strong enough for us to cross together. Every small gesture, every word, every shared moment felt like a treasure I didn't want to let go of. One evening, we were sitting in the living room watching TV. He leaned against me casually, without hesitation, and for the first time ever, I realized he was comfortable enough to see me not as a stranger, not as someone forced into his life, but as family. That small act nearly made me cry right there, but I held myself together. I wanted him to know that I wasn't fragile, that I could handle his trust, his presence, his love. Inside, though, my heart was glowing. I started noticing little things too. He would save me a seat at the table, bring me water without being asked, or show me something funny on his phone like I was part of his inner circle. These were the gestures that people often overlook, but to me, they were priceless. Each one was a reminder that I had finally earned a place in his heart. And the truth was, he had earned an even bigger place in mine. One night, when I was tucking him in again, he asked me something I'll never forget. "Do you think my mom would be okay with me caring about you too?" That question broke me in the gentlest way possible. I knew his mother wasn't in the picture anymore, and I also knew he carried a lot of unspoken guilt, like loving me might mean betraying her. I sat down beside him, held his hand, and told him, "Loving me doesn't take away from your mom. She'll always be your mom, and nothing will ever change that. But your heart has room for more love, and that's a beautiful thing." His eyes softened, and I saw relief wash over him like a heavy weight being lifted. After that conversation, things became even more natural between us. It wasn't forced. It wasn't awkward. It was real. He began sharing more about his dreams, his fears, and even his secrets. I listened carefully, never judging, always reminding him that I was there no matter what. And slowly, I realized something. This wasn't just about him letting me in. It was also about me healing from years of doubt and loneliness. I wasn't just his stepmother anymore. I was his family. One Sunday afternoon, as we sat in the backyard, he looked at me and said, "I don't think of you as just a stepmom anymore. You're like my real mom too." Those words hit me harder than anything I'd ever heard. Tears streamed down my face, but this time I didn't hold them back. I hugged him, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "I love you more than you'll ever know." That was the moment I knew, without a shadow of doubt, that our bond was unbreakable. Life isn't always easy. Blended families come with challenges, with moments of doubt, silence, and distance. But love has a way of breaking barriers, of finding its way through the cracks when we least expect it. That hug, that single hug, had been the start of a new chapter for us, a chapter filled with acceptance, trust, and love. Now, whenever I think about that night when he walked into my room and hugged me, I realize it wasn't just a hug. It was a message. A message that said, "I see you. I appreciate you. You matter to me." And for me, that was everything. To anyone listening to this story right now, wondering if their love, patience, or efforts are being noticed, please don't give up. Sometimes love takes time. Sometimes it hides behind walls of fear and pain. But when it finally shows itself, it's worth every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. My stepson's hug taught me that love always finds its way, even when it seems impossible. And today, I can proudly say, I don't just have a stepson. I have a son. A boy who chose to open his heart to me, and in doing so, healed my own. That's the kind of miracle only love can create.